Hi everyone, welcome back to the Luca Beth Lounge, our little cozy space for everybody who loves Lucas and Elizabeth from When Calls the Heart. Today we have me, Jillian.
And me, Blanca. Hello.
And Div. Hi, guys.
And Gina. Hi, everyone.
I'm so excited to be back with you guys. I'm really excited about this episode because I think it's going to be a good one. And it might be kind of long, if I'm being honest. I don't know. We'll see. But today we're talking about how Elizabeth chose Lucas early on. And it's a little arguable, I think. People have different opinions on when she chose him. But we're going to be talking about season 8 today, because that's kind of the argument of, we were maybe a little bit misled, but we're going to kind of prove that we weren't. So, but that being said, I'm wondering when you guys all thought that Elizabeth chose Lucas.
I personally think Elizabeth chose him back in season 7. I'm not sure if I'm the only one who thinks that, but yeah, to me, right from the first episode in that season, they started to get close, right? When they started to discuss her writing dreams and all that. And then later on I feel that the Union City episode was the turning point for her. So the way I see it, she chose him, or she started to choose him back in season 7, even though she wasn't aware of it at the time.
Okay. What about you, Dev?
I think it was between season 7 and 8. And I think it was kind of subconsciously, because at that point is when she starts to separate. Like she doesn't want to go to dinner with Nathan anymore. She's not considering him an option. And then she has that first journal entry where she's like, I can't look at them both as romantic interests.
Right.
And at that point, I think she's just like, okay, there's only one guy that I see that way, but she doesn't actually take that step till later on. So episode 4.
What about you, Gina?
Yeah, I agree with you, ladies. I definitely think that she chose him in season 7. But I think when she really chose him for sure was early on in season 8, when she saw him at the stagecoach during Christmas time. And she saw that he was leaving. I think that really scared her, even though she didn't really think that he was leaving for good. That when he was leaving, that kind of that scared her. And I think that also when he was at her house, when he came to her house, when he came back from his trip, he was apologizing and telling her like, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have left without saying bye. And then he comes by her house later and he gives her the freedom to choose, without having the pressure. And he says to her, whatever you decide, I want you to be happy. And I feel like that was more confirmation for her, that he's the man for her.
Yeah. I feel like she kind of chose him over and over again a little bit. I don't know. I think she officially chose him sometime before Nathan's love declaration, because she told him at that time, I've known this for a while. I can't give you what you want from me. So I feel like it was sometime before that. But I feel like she just kept choosing him over and over again. Like even from season 6, when she chose him for the ladies' choice dance, Yeah. And then again for Union City, and then again in the not a date library date. Which is totally a date.
True.
So yeah, but okay, so let's dive in to season 8 and just kind of break it down. I do have to give a disclaimer. We're going to talk a little bit about Nathan in this episode, and it's not going to be necessarily all positive. So if that's going to bother you, just proceed with caution. Okay, so we ended off season 7 with their not a date library date, after she got her book deal and they were celebrating. And he said, I know this isn't a date, but if it were, I would take your jacket. And then she gave him her jacket, which I think again is kind of her being like, okay, like giving him permission to that this can be a date.
Mhm.
And then there was the infamous slam into each other hug that we all know so well. And then so we start off season 8 in episode 1. The beginning scene is Nathan riding up to Elizabeth's house. They have a little bit of conversation. He asks her out to dinner and she's hesitant and doesn't say yes. Right?
Yep.
She kind of actually started to say, like, she paused and she was like, Nathan, and then he interrupted and said,
Yep.
I've been thinking about a lot about you.
Mm.
And then so she says that she'll let him know later. So that's that opening scene. So what do we think?
There's a gap too. Like
Mm.
the first time he asked her was right the day of the prisoner transport. That was like late fall.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
this next time, you know, Elizabeth tells us at the beginning of the episode that it's springtime and she hasn't seen Nathan and Lucas. So at least 4 to 6 months have gone by.
Yeah.
And she's had time to think about this, and she's had time to kind of figure out how she feels about each guy.
Mhm.
And then and then when he says, I've been thinking a lot about you, she says, I've been thinking a lot about you too, but she's talking about it in like a whole different context. And unfortunately, she doesn't elaborate. So what does he know? You know, like he doesn't know what context she's speaking in.
Right. And I feel like it's kind of interesting because she's still hesitant, even though at this point she doesn't know when Lucas is coming back. She doesn't even know if he's coming back. Right. So even with Lucas kind of out of the picture, she's still hesitant to say yes to going to dinner with Nathan after several months of not hanging out with him.
Yeah.
Which I think it's only natural because they don't really know each other. I mean, they haven't spent much time together other than discussing Ali, right?
Yeah.
Or things related to her. So, I mean, if I put myself on her shoes, I wouldn't feel, you know, like I would want to go have dinner with someone that I haven't really spoken to
that you're not comfortable
about anything other than his needs. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of too soon for them to go there.
Yeah, I mean, I always wondered, like, what was their reaction after the hug, Elizabeth and Nathan, like the next day, let's say. Like, how awkward, like, was that for them? Or, you know, like, did they ever talk about it really? I mean, or did he just kind of avoid her this whole time? Because, I mean, we kind of assume that he hasn't seen her since then. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, like you guys are saying, they barely know each other, and all they talk about really is Ali. And I just feel like a lot of times she was just always not wanting to hurt his feelings, and she just always puts off some kind of an answer, like a direct answer, to just avoid any kind of conflict with him.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So after that scene is when we see her journaling, and that's when we find out that Lucas has been away. And I mean, they had to come up with some sort of excuse for what happened on the hiatus. But the fact that Nathan is still there, like his niece is still living there, he's got to still live there. And maybe he's been gone a lot, but they still haven't hung out. They still haven't gone on a date. It's also, it's really unfortunate for Nathan that he finally asked her out the day that Lucas decides to come home, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's when we find out that they've kind of just been gone. They haven't really settled anything. And then there's a knock on Elizabeth's door. And guess who it is? It's Lucas. He apologizes for leaving without explanation, and she is like, why did you leave? And he said, you know, he said that he was feeling jealous because he saw the hug,
the clash,
right? And he needed to leave in order to kind of sort out his feelings. And then she scooches closer to him and says, have you figured out your feelings? in so many words.
It's true.
And then he says, I would like to tell you more about it when I have time. And she said, I would like that. So what do you guys feel like? Do you feel like there is such a, I feel like these scenes being back to back, they're back to back, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
With the Nathan asking her out and then right to this
Mhm.
one, I feel like the difference in her reaction
No,
is
actually,
night and day.
no, because
No?
Lucas, no, it's not back to back. There's the Nathan scene, and then there's the journaling in between,
Right.
and
Right.
Yeah.
then the, which I guess that is kind of back to back, right?
Right. Yeah, there's nothing else in between those things. So you see her reaction to Nathan asking her out, and then you see
Yes.
her reaction to Lucas coming back and
Yeah.
saying, I would like to tell you more about it when I have the time.
Yeah.
And her reactions are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I was saying that to me, she already shows in season 7 because her reaction when he comes back, it's not the way you react when a friend comes back, right?
No.
I mean, the tone was clearly romantic.
Have you?
Uh-huh.
I think in a way, yeah. I mean, not with so many words, but I mean, he's clearly more than a friend by then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's why I think so.
Yeah, and I didn't listen to this interview, but the first podcast, or not podcast, the first Facebook interview that John Tinker did, he apparently said that he wanted the oh my goodnesses. So the one that she says to Lucas, and then I'm getting a little ahead here, sorry, but the one that she says to Nathan, or not to Nathan, but right before, like she has that interaction with Nathan,
Mhm.
it was supposed to be contrasted. So it was like her reaction to seeing each guy, which when she sees Lucas, it's like, oh my goodness. And then when she sees Nathan, which is like right when she's about to, be like, dude,
Yeah.
no, we're not going there. It's like, oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
So it was kind of
I didn't
meant to
know
show.
that.
Yeah. Shout out to Rhea, because Rhea's the one who told me this, because I didn't watch it.
Oh,
Hey, Rhea.
What? Okay, we need to find that interview. I want to watch that.
Yeah.
Who was it? You don't remember who it was?
John Tinker.
Oh, John Tinker.
Yeah. You know how he was doing
That
those
is
weekly?
interesting.
Yeah, he's doing those weekly
Yeah.
interviews on Thursday to recap the episode from that previous Sunday. So it was,
Okay.
yeah, that one,
Ooh, that's a nugget of information.
right? She
That's
chose
cool.
early on.
Mm,
she did. We know.
mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Gina, do you have anything to say about this cute
Yeah,
little?
I mean, I just feel like when he, came by her door, and it was just such a classy move by him. I mean, he admits when he's done something wrong, and even not do something wrong necessarily, he just always took some kind of responsibility for it to make things right.
Mhm.
And I thought it was such a cute scene, like you guys were saying. She was so happy to see him.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, she invites him for the first time, right, into her house.
Yeah.
Is it the first time?
Yeah.
I think so.
The first of many.
The first of
She
many.
invites him in so many times,
Yeah.
and he still doesn't.
No, it's going to be a big deal when he does.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Can wait.
Isn't it
Can
weird
wait.
that we're so excited for him to like go in her house? Like
I
I feel
don't
like
think so.
Oh my goodness.
I hope we see it. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think
A lot
so.
of
We
people
have to.
a lot of people are concerned that it's going to happen during like, what we don't see during the hiatus. And I'm
There's
like,
no
I
way.
don't know. No, I feel like
No,
they
no.
really took that and ran with it, and I feel like we need to see that. I don't know.
No, and John Tinker has mentioned it too. Someone brought it up to him as well, and he has actually talked about it. So it's something that's on his mind. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
be surprised if it's they do something with it.
Hopefully during the Christmas episode. I would imagine that would make the most sense. That would
Christmas
be special
episode.
too.
Yeah, I agree.
That'd be so beautiful.
Okay, so Elizabeth, in between this, Elizabeth tells Rosemary that when she hugged Nathan, she realized that she cared for him more than she thought. So I was wondering your thoughts on this, because I feel like does that mean that she didn't know that she really cared for Nathan in that way until she thought that maybe he had died?
I kind of felt like she hugged him as a friend would, but at the same time, it was like all the things coming back from losing Jack and PTSD. And I don't think it was at all romantic in any way.
No.
Because there would have been something else. Like, I don't know. It didn't feel like it was anything more than a friend. And she was just caught in that moment.
Yeah. And if you put yourself in her shoes, I mean, anybody that you care about, like anybody that you know, if you think that they're gone and then you turn around and they're there, you're probably going to go hug them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's when she kind of started projecting. Actually, I think she started projecting Jack on Nathan from the first time they met because she was so nervous to meet him.
Yes. Could have been. It very well could have been. And I'm going to put this scene in. I'm sorry, guys, we didn't discuss this ahead of time, but I'm going to put the scene in here from season 5 where Elizabeth is journaling and we see the projection, why the hug happens. So just FYI, here it is.
Dear Jack, I had the most wonderful dream last night. I was in town and I turned and you were riding in, handsome in your red serge. You'd come home early to surprise me. I ran into your arms and you held me tight. I was so happy. Then I woke up. It's comforting to know that if you can't be here in my waking hours, I will see you in my dreams.
Okay, so the next scene, Lucas drives up to Elizabeth's house where little Jack and Elizabeth are sitting outside watching some bunnies, a mama bunny and her baby. And he gets out of the car and tells her where he went when he left and tells her that he wants her to be happy no matter what she chooses. What are some thoughts on this? Blanca, I know you have some things to say about this.
Yeah, I love this scene. I mean, to me, this was a perfect sample of what I call eye conversations between Lucas and Elizabeth. Because I think what wasn't being said was actually more important than what they were saying at that point. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. And the way they look at each other right before she asks, where did you go when you left? I mean, it's so eloquent, and you don't need any words to know how they feel about each other.
I think, Blanca, you told me that, like, she holds her breath, like she gets breathless. And I thought that was very,
and it's like he notices that, or I don't know, there's a small reaction from him when she does that. Like, he smiles a little bit, just a little, and it's like he enjoys it. So cute.
She does, like, when he was like, oh, Helen Bouchard taught me how to read, and from then I was on my own. And she just kind of like pauses and like tilts her head and looks at her like, or looks at him like, and then she takes a deep breath and just like she does around Lucas. Yeah, right. That was a cute scene.
So good.
And foreshadowing, right? Where's Daddy?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Funny,
He totally says, "No daddy."
No daddy.
And now we know.
I was like, oh.
Fill in the blanks.
Yeah, no, that was clever.
Here I am.
So there we go, right? Lucas, who's getting scenes like this? Yeah.
And we find out that he went to Louisiana to build a school that got leveled in a hurricane. Like, come on. Okay, this is another episode, but like we could do a whole episode about how Lucas is a great guy and he's not shady or secretive. I don't know, but come on, he's such a good guy.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything to say about that scene?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they were so in sync with the nursery rhyme, you know, she says one line and then he kind of continues it. And he just, when he gave her that freedom to choose, I absolutely love that, because Nathan never offered her that. I mean, let's be honest. it's always him pressuring her, and it's like he speaks for her. She doesn't speak for herself.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, that scene was just so cute, and I love the bunnies too. That was adorable that they put that in there.
They were cute bunnies. So then after that, Nathan stops by Elizabeth's house again after his little mission. He asked her out to dinner again, and she hesitantly agrees. She literally says, all right.
At first, she makes like
how are we feeling here?
1,000 excuses, right? It's like she she tries every reason she can come up with not to go have dinner with him, but she runs out of excuses, unfortunately.
Well, it starts with last season, him asking, and then her being speechless and not being able to say anything. Months go by, he asks again, he brings it up again, but then he's like, oh, you let me know whenever you're ready. And she's like, okay, good, that's like breathing room. But then
she never lets him know.
No, but then it's not like he gives her much of a choice, because that same right after that, she's sitting with Rosemary, and he rides over, and he's like, oh, I don't think we can have that dinner. And I'm like, dude, she never said she's gonna have dinner with you, or when she was gonna have dinner. And then suddenly it's like, oh, let's go to dinner tonight. So it's never, he doesn't, what Gina said is right. Like, he does not, there's no breathing room. There's no like, okay, you know how I feel now, you come to me. It's just push and push.
He keeps pushing.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, it's frustrating.
I honestly think that she was practically forced to say yes, because didn't he give her an option to really say no, because didn't he say, oh, well, how about Allie and little Jack come too? And it was like kind of like she felt like she had to say yes to maybe not disappoint Allie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. And her excuse at the beginning was that she didn't know she had a babysitter. So with that being the obstacle, and then he takes care of the obstacle, then she's like, okay, well, okay.
Yeah.
If
you insist.
Yeah.
What do I say next?
Right. That's a good point.
That is not the way you want a woman to react when you ask her out. That is
right.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so then they're going to dinner, okay? Because she hesitantly says yes. And they're walking through town to the cafe to go have dinner, and Lucas's mother arrives. Elizabeth sees her getting off the stagecoach, and she's looking a little like, who's this girl? Because I mean, let's just be honest, Lucas's mom is kind of hot, and she could be, I don't know, his woman. I don't know. She seems a little jealous, is what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Is that why everybody feels like
definitely?
She feels a little jealous, and she doesn't know who this woman is. So she's just kind of looking around, and then she feels sick and has to go home, and does not go on her dinner date with Nathan and Allie.
Yeah. It wasn't meant to be.
No. I think. Yeah. No, that's can we rewind back a little bit? Did you see like her eyes as soon as she comes into focus? Like when you see her come into the camera, her eyes are on Lucas the whole time. Like, I know people want like this grant us a family thing, like it was a big campaign, but yeah, the four of them are walking together, and that's kind of what people wanted. But who's her attention on? Who is she thinking about? Like the whole time, the only one she's looking at is Lucas. That's a big sign. Yeah, that's
true. Because even before Helen steps off the stagecoach, she's like, oh, there's Lucas. And I feel like she was maybe trying to suppress the memory of Lucas, like just kind of put him in the back of her head and just do this dinner. But then there he is. And she's like, oh no.
And like Blanca just said, it's almost like it's fate.
Right.
It's the timing and like the way it went down. But
yeah. It was good
And
timing.
I think she felt kind of mortified at the idea that Lucas saw her with
Yeah.
the Grant family,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm.
holding hands, the four of them. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think her seeing him was definitely enough to not go through with it, seeing Lucas, and
Mm.
it was just her gut feeling, and she couldn't go through with it. And I also think she doesn't want Allie to think that this is going to go any further too, because she definitely didn't want to hurt her.
Mhm.
right.
But yeah, that
Mhm.
scene it spoke volumes. And I love that Daniel Lissing, when he said he saw that
Yes.
scene, he's like, oh, like at first I was all for the Mountie, you know, because he wanted to support the Mountie. And then he's like, I think she's
Right.
going to go the other way now. I was like, yes, like he's on
Mhm.
board.
Yes. Yes. I know. I was like, okay, we're in game for sure. Like,
Yep.
I mean, first episode.
No, and I think
Yeah.
that's what some of us feel is like from episode 1, you could see it. I think they knew.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I don't know if this is the podcast to talk about it, but they knew going in, regardless of what the cast is saying and BB is saying, like everyone's kind of saying their own thing.
They
but
had to know.
They had to know. Like,
Yeah.
and
Right.
like I said, and when John Tinker is saying, oh, we wanted to show like Elizabeth's reaction to each guy with like the oh my goodnesses, come on, like why would
That's true.
why would they start that early if they were like going back and forth or whatever?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So they have, I mean, Aaron Krakow has said they made the choice in season 8. Like it could have been when they first started filming season 8 in the
Mhm.
first episode. I don't know.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think they knew even before that, but
I do too.
that's another episode too. I just feel like she when she felt sick, like she didn't, I don't know if she really felt sick or if she just used that as an excuse to just go home, but I feel like when she's with Nathan, she feels like homesick. Do you know what I mean? Have you guys ever felt
She
like
feels
homesick?
uneasy, maybe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, she doesn't feel herself.
Yeah.
She's
Right.
definitely not
Yeah.
herself around him.
Yeah. And I think part of it is probably because she's reflecting Jack onto him. I don't know. But she just feels, or she seems like she feels homesick to me when she's around him. I don't know.
Mhm.
So that's the end of episode 1 of season 8. So episode 2 starts with Nathan riding by Elizabeth's house, stops to chat. He says they should try getting dinner again, and Elizabeth literally doesn't say anything. She just kind of awkwardly goes like this.
It's an Elizabeth thing. Yeah.
She just nods. And then he leaves. She does this little like sigh when he leaves. She like does this sigh, but not with a smile like she does with Lucas.
It's a
She
sigh
does
of
this little
relief.
sigh.
It's a
She
sigh
does
of
this
relief.
like kind of a confused though, and then she like shakes her head. Have you guys noticed that she does that? Like she like shakes it off. I don't know if it was conscious of Aaron or not, but if you go back and watch when Nathan leaves, most of the time she's like, I don't know. Gina, what do you think about this scene?
I just give it a rest. I think he's just forces everything. It's cringy. I mean, how did he not take a hint when she canceled? And like even before that, when she was reluctant and didn't want to go. I mean, I feel like he always makes her feel some sort of guilt, like for not wanting to really fully go out with him. And you shouldn't have to feel guilty for that. I mean, and I also feel like when he's not a very communicative person. And I feel like
or perceptive.
Yeah. And I feel like he kind of knows that because he's not a good communicator. He's like, oh, well, if I don't ask her why she feels this way, I can continue to keep pushing things, on her, to keep pushing her to go out with me, even though I know that things aren't going my way.
Yeah. As Nathan's dad says, Archie. I just think it's so cute that his name is Archie. Nathan has always been economical with words, I think is what he said. It's so true.
I didn't remember that.
Lucas was like, Yeah, it was in the saloon.
Yeah.
I don't remember what season did he?
From
I don't know.
Last
7, I
season.
think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Season 7.
Season
Yeah.
7, episodes 2 and 3.
Oh, you're
I
on
know.
it.
have to rewatch.
Yes, I mean,
Nice.
I'm sorry. I know I like nerd people out.
So then, okay, the next scene is when Lucas drives by Elizabeth, her
Mhm.
house, and she stops
Mhm.
him, and he asks her if she will go see his mother because she's been not herself. And she says, "Why me?" And he says, "Because you're easy to talk to."
Mm.
And she gets kind of flirty. She like puts her
Mhm.
hands up on his little
Yes.
car door. It's so cute.
Yeah.
And
It was
again,
so
we
cute.
see here the kind of effect Lucas has on her, right? Because when he drives away, she's like, she
Yes.
sighs, she's so happy, and
Mhm.
that's usually the effect he has on her, and I love it. It's so
Mhm.
cute,
I
right?
know. Every time he leaves, she's just like she can't help but smile, and I feel like
Yeah,
such
such a
Yeah.
contrast. Not
And
to
I'm
mention-
wondering- I'm wondering if like it's conscious, if they're conscious acting decisions by Aaron.
that's what I was gonna
Because
say. Yeah.
it was very obvious. Like this entire season, like it was very, very like there was a line, and you could tell
Mhm.
who she had romantic feelings for and who was just like the
Right.
friend.
Yeah, and Erin is such a great actress that I feel like it could be her consciously doing
Yeah.
that for sure. But also I wonder if it's just their natural chemistry where Chris drives away and she's just like, I'm sure it's acting. I mean, I'm sure it's just her phenomenal
Scripted.
acting. But
Yeah.
yeah.
It's scripted, but I also read an interview with Erin where she said it was a little hard for me to act in a way where we're still showing that the triangle is ongoing, but also kind of showing Elizabeth's feelings.
Mhm.
Sorry, I don't have that quote handy, but when I read it, I was like, oh, okay, so that is what she's doing. Like she has to still
Yeah,
make it
okay.
seem like, okay, the triangle is there, but she's also trying to show, because there is going to be an end game. So they do have to show that Elizabeth, her emotions are different towards each guy. And I think she did such an amazing job with that.
That would be a really difficult, like a really big challenge as an actress, don't you think?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
Absolutely.
she's great though.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else have any thoughts on that little scene where he drives up?
Well, just that it was so delightful to see. I mean, and she was just so happy. I mean, it was very simple. Just it was pure happiness.
Mm-hmm.
I know, she was like, she's back to like, we see those little glimpses of her giddy little Elizabeth, you know,
Yeah.
which we haven't seen since really season 5, in my opinion. But we see those little glimpses, and I'm just like, oh, it's just so nice to see. So then Elizabeth goes and to talk to Helen. She agrees, and she brings her muffins, which is so cute. And then they get kind of sassy with each other, which again I think is, I don't know, I think it's a cool little piece of the story because they're sassy with each other. Elizabeth isn't like conceding to the fact that, okay, this is Lucas's mom and she's an editor and she's gonna edit my book and I'm just gonna please her, you know, in like say whatever she wants me to say. She's still Elizabeth and she stands her ground and she's like, you know, I don't know, the whole little back and forth banter with Mrs. Bouchard and Helen, and then at the end she leaves and she's like, Helen. And she's like, oh. And Helen really likes it. So then shortly after that, we see Helen and Lucas walking down the street. I love how he totes her around. Like she's just so tiny and he's so tall. And she just like tucks her little arm into his arm. It's just so cute. And she's perceptive. I mixed some syllables up. Of, you know, he likes Elizabeth and so does Nathan, and that's when Lucas says, yeah, she is the reason for me staying in Hope Valley. So we know for sure that Lucas is there for Elizabeth.
I feel like that was like the first time he kind of said out loud to someone, which I mean, the fact that it was to his mother was really special, that, you know, he essentially wants to spend his life with her. So I think that was very special, and a very special moment for them.
Yeah. And he's just waiting patiently for her to make her decision, because they both kind of acknowledge at that point too that Nathan is there and he's a suitor too. And he's just like, yep, that's where we're at. He's so patient and so kind. He's so Corinthians.
True.
I love that.
So then the next scene, Nathan runs into Elizabeth outside the mercantile. Okay, I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about this scene. He tells her that he's looking at Bill's land because it's time to settle down in Hope Valley. And then she asks him if they can get together when he gets back. And she doesn't seem sick about it. She almost seems excited about it. What do you guys have thoughts about this?
I kind of feel like he, you know, did also have an ulterior motive to wanting to buy the land. And the fact that he kind of did this without even going on a date with her, I mean, he kind of jumped the gun there. But yeah, he should just focus on Allie, and that should be the reason why he wants to stay, is because of Allie, not because he thinks he's going to be with Elizabeth. She should be his focus, you know, because she's the most important person to him, or she should be.
Well, and that's the thing, when he goes and looks at the land, he comes back. I mean, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. We're gonna get there, but he says that he can see him and Allie living there. But then after Elizabeth turns him down, he turns down the land. So it's like, were you looking at that land for you and Allie, or were you looking at that land for you and Elizabeth?
Exactly.
And Allie too, but like, that just was kind of weird. And I feel like I'm always a little conflicted with like how she's excited a little bit in this scene where she's like, hey, when we can get together when you get back. But then when he gets back, we find out that she wants to get together with him to talk about how she can't be with him.
Exactly.
To send him to the friend zone, basically.
Yes. Send him to the friend zone. Exactly.
Right.
But we don't know that yet at this point.
No.
I didn't think she seemed excited.
She didn't seem excited, but she wasn't like sick about it like she normally is.
It was a similar like, Nathan, I need to talk to you as season finale too, when he comes back from rescuing Jesse. It was kind of the same thing where you're like, it's like
a relief.
It's a relief, but I also think it's a conscious writing decision where they want to keep us guessing, and then they're kind of like, no, actually that's not what we meant. So
yeah, she just wants to get it over with as soon as possible, I think.
She's like, thank goodness this is finally okay. No, I'm not gonna go there.
Hey, you put a disclaimer in, Jillian. You're fine.
I did.
Yeah, this is fair game.
Guys, I warned you that this is gonna happen. Okay, so then Lucas runs into Helen and Elizabeth, who are discussing the fact that her husband left her, but Lucas does not know yet. He suggests that they all go out to dinner. Elizabeth says she can't because she knows this secret and she can't keep a secret from Lucas, right? But then before she leaves, she turns around and asks Lucas for help, and we find out that it's putting together a little romantic dinner for Lee and Rosemary. So that's kind of cute. After that, Nathan comes back from Bill's land. Elizabeth is sitting there. Oh boy, this is a bombshell. Okay, Elizabeth is sitting there and she just goes, oh my goodness. And then what happens, Div? What happens?
He comes over. He's trying to sell it like it's for him and Allie, but she knows better. And you can tell like there's subtext, you know, you can tell they both know that something is coming. And then Elizabeth goes, Nathan, I don't know where to begin. And Nathan already knows where she's going with this. There's just such a disconnect between them. Every time I watch those scenes between Nathan and Elizabeth, those first 2 episodes, I'm like, dude, how do you not get it? Like, she is just not feeling the same way. And then he's like, okay, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but he's like, I know you feel the same way. Like, he's just so disconnected from her emotions. And like, he's just not, he's thinking about himself, everything. And it's not about her.
Yeah. I've heard some people, or I've seen some people on Twitter say, you know, like, he's like, I know you feel the same way. Whereas Lucas is like, how do you feel? You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference.
Gina, tell us your thoughts, because we've discussed this scene before. So what do you think?
Well, I got a few adjectives here, guys, so get ready.
Go.
Awkward, uncomfortable, pushy, unreciprocated, presumptuous, and cringeworthy. I mean,
I agree with everything.
There's so many more, but you know,
you could go on
all day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the fact that they hadn't even gone on a date, and you're spilling this all on her, telling her that you love her, and you know you're in love. He said he's in love with her. Like, how? I just don't understand. I mean, it just, everything he said was presumptuous. It was all about how he feels. She didn't get to say anything. She didn't really get to say, oh, sorry, I don't feel the same way. And she just kind of tried to explain to him, you know, I can't, you know, she said, I can't, you know, I can't do this, or it's not right, or whatever. And then she just rode away. The fact that she just rode away and was like in tears.
Well, they kept it ambiguous on purpose. Like, they didn't have her elaborate a ton. But I also think, like, what is she going to say? Like, is she going to say, no, I don't love you? Like, she's not going to say that. Like, he's spilling his guts. He's not, you know, and also, yeah, he's like, I love you, I'm in love with you. But like a few episodes later, like episode 6, he's like, she's got to get to know me. Like in that scene when he's watching, you know, Lucas and Elizabeth flirt, and he and Carson are talking. And then again in episode 8, where, you know, she goes to confront him at the beginning of the episode about like the alley situation. And he's like, Elizabeth, if you feel that way, you don't even know me. And it's just like, they're having him say that, like, she doesn't know him, but he's like, I love you. And it just shows that the relationship is just not, they're not at the same place, and there's no foundation.
No, they don't even know if they have anything in common other than their life circumstances in terms of, you know, having to raise a child on their own. But that's basically it, right? Because in terms of, I don't know, their interests and their personalities and their backgrounds, it's like they don't have anything in common, right?
No, they don't.
It's like,
I've had civil conversations with some people on the other side, and they say that she's spent just as much time with Nathan as with Lucas. And I'm like, I mean, so I really tried to think about that and really go back and look. But I think the only time she's spent with Nathan alone is either talking about Allie or picking out the Christmas tree in season 6, which Allie was also there. So it wasn't really alone time. I don't know. They really haven't spent any alone time together.
Jillian, you brought up a good point. I actually calculated how much time she spent with each guy in season 7 and in season 8. And I don't have the numbers in front of me. But it was always Lucas. I think it was significantly more Lucas. It was, and these were just the 2 of them. So this was like excluding Allie scenes. So it was just Nathan, Elizabeth, and Lucas and Elizabeth. And I think there was like a 6-minute difference in this past season.
Big difference in TV. It seems like, I mean, season 6 and season 7, I can understand the argument, but season 8, we were not misled. We weren't.
Not at all.
Nope.
She chose early on, and season 8 was proving it time and time again.
Mhm. Yeah.
Moving on to episode 3 of season 8.
Okay.
The first scene that pertains to her choice is when Elizabeth tells Rosemary that she knows she made the right choice not to be with Nathan, but she doesn't know that she made the choice to be with Lucas. So we know for sure that she, at this point, has chosen not to be with Nathan. She said it
Exactly.
herself.
Mhm.
And
And
this
I
is
feel-
when...
Yeah, go ahead. Finish.
I was just gonna say, this is when, so I did a whole like Twitter feed about how she chose early on, because I really wanted to see
Right.
where Team Nathan was coming from with like feeling misled. So I went through all of season 8 and I have changed my opinion. I think she chose earlier than this, but at this point, this is when we know as an audience that she chose not to be with Nathan. She
Mhm.
said it.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, side note, Jillian, that thread was freaking brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It was
I didn't
so
get
good.
to I didn't get to interact with it as much as I would have liked to, but it was freaking awesome. And you,
Thank you.
yeah, no, you proved your point, I thought. More than.
Yeah, it was
More than-
brilliant. Yeah.
They're not just going to straight out say she's, Lucas is the choice, but they're going to show, and the audience has to interpret that, and they have to look at facts. You have to look at the
Yeah.
dialogue. You can't just
Mhm.
say for everything, oh, she's in denial. She's in denial. No, there's more
And
to
the
the
and the
story.
subtext.
Like
Right.
what's
Yeah.
the point of the scene if that is the ongoing theme? It makes no sense. It's like, come
Yeah.
on, Elizabeth is deeper than that. And she's not an idiot, and she's not
Hmm.
Yeah. You have
she's
to-
confused sometimes, but
Right. Which
Right.
again is if you put yourself in her shoes,
Mhm.
it is going to take some time to get through all this.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
us as an audience, we can see.
Mhm.
I mean, you use the canon script and be like, "This is what we're seeing. This is pretty obvious to us."
Mhm.
I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah.
I feel like in this scene, Elizabeth is starting to come to terms with her feelings for Lucas, because even though she's not quite there yet, what she tells Rosemary, it's like she's implying that she has considered the idea of the two of them together, right? Which she has never done with Nathan. So for me, that's quite revealing as well. The hints are all over the place. If you look for them, you find them.
Yeah. And at this point, she says she has chosen not to be with Nathan. She doesn't know if she's chosen to be with Lucas, which is also kind of foreshadowing to the finale when Lucas doesn't know. He ends up finding out that she doesn't love Nathan, but that also doesn't mean that she loves him. And so he's kind of just thinking, well, maybe she doesn't love me either.
Right.
Because he's not being presumptuous like some people.
Yeah, and she still has to get over that whole Jack thing. Like there's one more level of grief, I think, that she needs to get over to be able to fully open herself up.
Yeah.
Sure.
I kind of think that she did make her choice to be with Lucas in a way, but that she just hasn't really caught up with those feelings yet. I feel like her heart definitely wants to be with Lucas, but maybe her mind or like emotionally she hasn't made that decision, because like what you were saying, Jillian, the whole Jack stuff pops up, and that's kind of hard for her.
Then we see Lucas runs into Elizabeth and Rosemary, and at this point Lucas doesn't know about his parents' situation, but Elizabeth and Rosemary both do. Elizabeth is having a hard time knowing this and keeping it a secret from Lucas. So just kind of touching on that, we don't have to like elaborate on that, I don't think, unless anybody wants to, but I just feel like it's significant, the fact that she doesn't want to keep a secret from Lucas. Right?
Yeah.
And then we see Helen and Elizabeth busy editing. They see Nathan out the window. Helen tells Elizabeth that Lucas told her that Constable Grant is a suitor. And Elizabeth says, Constable Grant is not a suitor. She says it again in the script. This isn't something we're making up. She says Constable Grant is not a suitor.
What's interesting is even before they walk up to the window, Elizabeth is lost in thought. Helen is like, why don't I write your manuscript for you? Because she's so distracted. And we're like, why is she distracted? Is this Nathan related or what's going on? But no, she's distracted because she's like, well, when are you going to tell Lucas? So she's concerned about Lucas. Her thoughts are with him.
That's true. She's, again, concerned about keeping this secret from Lucas, which, I mean, if you don't care about somebody, you might not really care about keeping a secret from them. But if you care about them, you don't want to keep secrets from them. It's just uncomfortable. I don't know.
Yeah, and it sort of, you know, keeps them apart for as long as she knows and he doesn't.
Right.
So, yeah, she doesn't want to be in that position.
It's kind of brilliant writing, really, because they're trying to drag this triangle on. And it's getting pretty obvious at this point who the choice is. But this conflict keeps Elizabeth and Lucas from talking, because otherwise they would be going out to dinner together with his mom. And, you know, but this little secret had to be there to keep them apart a little bit. So after that, the oil derrick explodes. Elizabeth finds out there's an investigation open on Nathan. So this is just integral to this story. Lucas finds out about his father and is upset with Elizabeth for not telling him. Some angst, you know, gotta throw in some angst there. It can't be perfect. Helen goes to Elizabeth's house to apologize for the position she put her in, which I think is good, because she realizes that was not a comfortable thing for her to put her in. Elizabeth talks her through her feelings. Another really good bonding moment for Elizabeth and Helen, which I think is important, because again, they're considering like real life stuff, the COVID situation. They're trying to eliminate scenes as much as possible, especially inside, especially with kids. Little Jack is there. So this is obviously a very important scene for Elizabeth and Helen, and Helen and little Jack. That's the scene where he hugs her. So
I'm just sorry we didn't get to see this scene in which
Lucas
the
finds
dog
out. Oh yes, I'm sorry.
His parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember we discussed this in our chat, and it was like we felt cheated because that was an important scene. You know, for a main character like Lucas. Right?
Yeah. We don't even know if they filmed it.
Too bad.
So I'm like, that's just because it felt like there was something missing in the story.
This is where things get kind of choppy, and I feel like some scenes were definitely cut here, because after the oil derrick explodes, it's just like they're all back in town and they're all done with it, and I don't know. It seems a little choppy.
Time.
Okay, so episode 3 ends with Helen leaving in a stagecoach. Elizabeth runs over to talk to Lucas. He says his mother's leaving because she would like to reconcile with his father. Elizabeth is glad about that, but she tells Lucas that she told Helen that love is worth fighting for. Love has to be fought for. Sorry. And she told her to reach out first. And Lucas says, what would you know about it? And then the angst begins, because it's necessary. Let's just all agree that angst happens in movies. It just does.
And in real life, right? I mean, when you care about someone, you're bound to deal with conflict at some point if you really care about that person. But I really loved it in the way they handle the angst here.
I agree.
You know, because of course Lucas is, you know, extremely patient and all, but you know, it's obviously painful for him to see how Elizabeth keeps sort of giving Nathan hope, I think. So, you know, it reaches a point in which he's in a bad place on account of what has happened with his parents and all. And, you know, in a way, I think this was the wake-up call she needed. You know? And it also added a new layer to their dynamic, which I loved, because, you know, it can all be picnic and candles, like some people say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I liked a couple of things about the scene. I loved that he wouldn't make eye contact with her. Like, I loved seeing pissy Lucas. Can I say that word? Like angry,
Yeah.
like, like
Sure.
it's a different Lucas. Like, I love that he's loving and patient, but he's also
Me too.
human. What he says is very, very valid. You can't just keep someone hanging in limbo forever. You either want them or you don't want them. You say it. You don't just because someone cares about you and says they'll be patient doesn't mean you endlessly take advantage of it either. Do you know what I mean? And the other thing I was going to say is I loved this. Actually, we see projection in the scene because after he says, "What would you know about it?" he walks away. She goes after him. We don't know what she's going to say, but then she stops because she sees Nathan. So Lucas is walking towards the saloon in one direction, and then Nathan is coming towards her from the other direction. And then she stops, and then she looks over at Nathan, and then she has like that look of like helplessness, and it's like angsty Elizabeth look. And then she looks at Lucas and she's like, and then she walks off. But then again, that is her past getting in the way. That is what we learn at the end that stops her, is that she hasn't dealt with that past. And we know that Nathan is that like physical representation of it. And I think that was like a scene where they showed that projection. And sorry, I'm kind of babbling, but one more thing about that little sequence is it was actually in the previews, the promos. So before the season started, it was in the promos. It was set to Victoria Beaumont's song. The lyrics were, "Last night I had another flashback, and I thought I was done with that, but you echo through my mind." And when that part shows, I'm going to include this in the video version of the podcast. But when those lyrics are up, it shows Nathan. And then right after that, the next lyric is "You are the one," and then it shows Lucas.
Last night I had another flashback. I guess I'm not quite done with that. You echo through my mind. You are the one.
It ended up being foreshadowing, right? And it's like talking about echoes and flashbacks, and it's like a callback to Jack.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've never thought about that.
Me neither. Yeah.
I mean,
I
think she needed to hear that from Lucas, like what would you know about it? You haven't really fought for love. And he did tell her early on, he said he would always be nothing but honest with her. And what he said was the truth. I mean, it was I kind of felt for Elizabeth, like she was kind of, taken aback by what he said. But at the same time, like she did tell Helen, to fight for love. But she really should take her own advice and kind of take action and fight for Lucas now, because he's been doing that for her. He's been fighting for her. And it's time that she take the next step to let him know that, I want to take the next step and I'm ready.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so then we go into episode 4, starting with Elizabeth walking into the library where Lucas had fallen asleep, which is just like, his hair is all disheveled and so cute. And there's like the tension between them, but they still chat with each other. He opens the door for her still, and she thanks him. And then she goes and puts her books in her saddlebag, and she's struggling, so he goes and opens her saddlebag for her. And then they have a little conversation about how Nathan is under investigation. And then she rides off and looks back at Lucas. And then I don't know. I think she seems a little bit sad about the strife between them. Because it wasn't really her fault. It really wasn't. It was Helen put her in a really awkward situation with that secret. And so now there's a strife between them, and she's kind of sad about it. Right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's not just about what had happened with Helen, I think, you know, like the tension is there because of her whole attitude with the triangle situation.
Yeah.
And I love the tension here because you kind of feel that they were both cautious in a way, like they didn't really want to hurt each other or make the situation worse. But yeah, there were so many unspoken feelings here. It felt very real, I think.
So I have two things to say about this scene, like super quick.
Okay.
Number one, food for the soul. Come on, could these two be more in sync with each other? Like they just
finish each other's sentences.
Yeah, it's like I cannot see Nathan saying something like that to her.
No way.
It's not like, and
No.
that just shows that like intellectually, like they're connected, their minds are connected. And even Lucas could have just been like, oh, so you're taking, like, if it was Nathan, he'd be like, oh, okay, everyone's taking casseroles and food, and okay, you're taking books. But Lucas is like food for the soul. I love that. I just totally love that. And the second thing
brilliant.
is the backward glances. That was big. That was like her, like, what was her reason for turning around and looking at him as she's writing away? That's like feelings. That is like showing, like, those are all little, you know, clues that Aaron asked us to look for, I think.
Right. She could have just gotten on her horse and ridden away, but she looked back.
Yep.
Which always reminds me of JC because that's her little profile picture.
Yes.
Of Elizabeth looking back on her horse.
Yeah.
Okay, so then after that, Allie spills the beans about Fort Clay. Elizabeth finds out that Nathan was stationed there just 3 years ago and was suspended. So this is where some real angst comes. Like, not just angst, but like this is turmoil. Like this is getting rocky. She knows that Nathan has been keeping something from her, and a little bit later, Nathan is on trial. Elizabeth is walking Allie over there to Judge Avery's office. While they're walking, the camera's on them, and Nathan's voice is saying, "I'm saddened for Mrs. Novak, as well as the other brave women who have lost good men in the line of duty. While I can't bring these men back, I can honor them and their wives and their family by continuing to serve in an honorable fashion," which I feel like is the reason that Nathan is in her life, is to continue to serve by protecting and honoring and serving the families, the wives who are affected by this line of duty.
I feel like they brought this scene of, you know, the questioning, all the questioning stuff. Because at first I'm like, why are they bringing this into the story, into season 8, like with them questioning his background and all that. But I feel like they did this scene for a reason. Like you guys were saying, like to say, oh, you know, he's, you know, here to protect and serve, but like that's his reason for being in Hope Valley. And they were trying to kind of sway to that point.
Do you feel like okay, so this season, the reason the lifetime kind of became a theme, like in the finale, but do you guys feel like this is kind of where the reason started being pretty obvious? Like he was there to protect the wives who have lost, you know, their husbands in the line of duty, and just like the I don't know if they've ever done like a voiceover on a scene of somebody else. Have they? Was this the first time? I feel like that was really profound. I feel like she was walking down the street just like, and his voice was saying that, and I don't think that they've ever done that before, and I think that was really
we were supposed to take notice of it. And yes, I think it was. I think they were starting to introduce that idea. They were trying to introduce the Fort Clay idea, which ties into Nathan's reason for being there. So, yep.
Yeah, because at this point we don't know about Fort Clay. Although even from the time that they met each other, I was like, I think that Nathan knew Jack in some way, or
Mhm.
I don't know. I felt like there was
We
a tie, and I
speculated,
don't even know if they wrote it that way.
They did. They
But-
did based
Yeah.
on
Did they?
well Kevin did an interview, I think it was Sarah Scoop this season, so at some point, where he said Aaron and him have been wanting to do this storyline for a while.
Yeah.
And then also before season 7 started to air, Kevin made a comment about, well, who knows, maybe Nathan even knew Jack. And this is before season 7 and nothing, there's no reference to this in season 7. It's just coming up now. So I think it's something that they were thinking about and that they were planning.
Right.
And then it came to fruition this season. So some people are like, well, it was a retcon or whatever, but I don't really think that was the case.
Okay. So then Nathan is exonerated and Allie runs into Nathan's arms, which is super sweet. Elizabeth is very happy for them, but then she stays back. She doesn't go like hug Nathan and be like, I'm so happy for you. She just stays there and she's happy for Allie and Nathan.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
She just is like, oh, and Lucas is there watching the whole thing. Not because he's creepy, just because he's
there
smart.
on the street and
He's
like
just there.
he's drinking his
He's just
tea.
there. It's his balcony.
Yeah. No, he's like watching from the street in that scene, but it's like,
Right.
Yeah.
he's not hiding behind like a, one of those
A bush.
a bush or something.
He's not like, whoa.
He's just there and he sees it. Good Lord. But yeah, Jillian, that's a great point, that they're showing that Elizabeth is happy for them. She cares about them and what happens to them, but
she does.
staying out of it
Because she really cares about her students.
Yeah.
And Nathan is not just a parent, but he's their Mountie. Like she has connections with him. So then the next scene is the serendipitous meetup in the street between Lucas and Elizabeth. Elizabeth apologized for hurting him while she tried to honor Helen's wishes. Lucas apologizes for questioning what she knows about love. Elizabeth tells him that she told Nathan that she cannot give him what he wants. She won't be seeing him anymore. And Lucas asks what that could mean for them. And she grins and says, I guess we'll just have to see. And then they talk about mushrooms. This is one of my favorite scenes. I think it's the cutest. I could watch it over and over again.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I agree. Super cute scene. And the mushroom mention, I don't know, some people are taking it a certain way. But that is not how it was intended. It was supposed to be a cute inside joke between Lucas and Elizabeth.
Yeah.
That's what that was Gustav coming over and talking about mushrooms, and Elizabeth and Lucas looking at each other, and it was a callback to Union City. That's what it was. It wasn't, related to anything else. And it was such a cute scene. Yeah, the way they look at each other, and Lucas is a little disoriented when Gustav walks up because like they were smiling at each other. He's so lovesick and so adorable.
So freaking cute. The way he's just like, okay.
And she like just stands there and watches him. Like she just grins, like he's already like headed to the mercantile, and she just grins. And then you hear like hoof beats behind you, like she hears that. She turns around and like the expression changes. Hi, Newton. And it's like, I'm grateful that you were exonerated, but that's great.
Yeah.
P.S.
Well, that actually happens.
Did you know Jack?
The conversation with her and Nathan happens before Lucas comes into the scene.
What? No. After.
Yeah.
It's the last scene.
It's after.
It's after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Right after.
Yeah. The episode ends with that.
That was like the cliffhanger kind of.
Huh.
Yeah. Sort of cliffhanger.
Somewhat.
No, because she's talking to Nathan, and then he rides away, and Lucas comes in, and she turns around and she's like,
That's
Oh,
no,
that's a
that's
different
another
scene.
scene. That's
Separate.
That's the one where
when
she holds
Lucas
his hand.
gives her the present for
That is episode, Jillian, that is episode 7,
Jillian, you
okay?
need to rewatch season 8.
Okay, cut it out, cut it out, cut it out.
No, why?
Wait.
We
this is funny. This is
apologize
cute.
on behalf of our moderator.
Shut up. Shut up. Oh my gosh. Okay.
We did our homework,
Wait,
people.
Nathan rides in after the shroom talk?
Yes.
Dude. Freaking
He-
Nathan. Ugh.
He
Right
rides
after,
up.
yeah.
He rides up after Lucas walks away, and Elizabeth is like grinning like a lovesick fool. And I mean that in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And then she turns around and her expression.
She's done them multiple times.
Yeah, she has.
Okay, we have to cut that out. That's so embarrassing. Oh my God.
Leave it in. It's cute. Leave it in. Leave it in. It's
No.
super cute.
Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
it's cute.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
super
check it
cute.
out.
What do you think, guys? Put it in the comments. Let us know. Isn't Jillian adorable?
No, okay. Wait, they talk about the shrooms, and then he walks away, and she's like grinning, and then it cuts to what? Nathan riding in?
Mhm.
Yeah, she turns around and there's Nathan.
Stop it. Why? Okay. Well. Okay. Well, yeah, it's in my notes. Okay, so the episode ends with Nathan riding up. Elizabeth asks him why. Okay, so this is when
You
Elizabeth-
wrote it.
I know I wrote it. Okay, I'm gonna start that over. Oh gosh, this is going bad. Okay, so the episode ends with Nathan riding up. Elizabeth asks him why he hasn't mentioned that he was stationed at Port Clay. He says, I meant to, but so much time has passed, I don't know how. I didn't know how.
Sure. Okay.
She asks if he has ever met Jack, and he says, nope, and rides away.
Which is the
I feel like
truth.
well, true, but I feel like it could have been a good segue into him saying,
Yeah.
no, but
Such a
he
missed
did
opportunity
replace
here.
me on the training mission that
Oh,
killed
yeah.
him.
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's only been 3 freaking years.
Right.
Or something. 3 seasons.
What's
I
the
think
rush?
it's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was just a golden opportunity for him to say, for him to tell her the truth.
Right.
He could have just said, no, but there's something you should know. And, there's something I've been putting off and, kind of been wondering how to tell you, ... that this happened and I replaced him.
Episode 5 begins with us finding out that it's almost graduation day. Lucas and Elizabeth see each other outside of the saloon. They have some flirty banter.
So cute.
He says
So cute.
he has a hard time figuring her out. She says, try me. And he asks her to dinner to celebrate the end of the school year, which is so cute. Like, he's not just asking her to dinner. He's asking her to dinner to celebrate the end of the school year because he knows that she's a teacher. And come on, what kind of a woman wouldn't be like, yes, let's, you have to celebrate that.
I would be delighted.
She said she would be delighted.
Yes.
And he said,
Delighted how?
How do you mean? Yeah, delighted how? Exactly. Thank you, Blanca.
Yeah.
And she said to join you on an actual date, in so many words. And then when Nathan rides by, Elizabeth and Lucas just kind of look at him and then they look at each other and they just smile at each other oh.
This exchange here was, I think, very well written in terms of, this is a conversation that could happen today, right? Between two people, and it's kind of universal too. It doesn't matter where you are, but the whole, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out, and she going, I'm not hard to figure out, and try me and all that. It's like, this doesn't feel period to me.
Mhm.
It's, in a way, it's very modern, but it's also believable because, I'm sure these kind of conversations have happened since forever. But I really love the writing here. I love this scene.
I love the difference in their conversation for Lucas and Elizabeth versus when Nathan was asking her out. She was very encouraging. She was encouraging him to ask her out, like, and she wanted him to ask her. But when Nathan was asking her out, she was just like, she wanted it to stop. Like, and she didn't want to give an answer. She was just, they were going in circles. And it was so funny because when Nathan did ride by, it was just like, it was nothing, like they didn't care.
Yeah.
It didn't affect them. They're like, we're gonna move forward and we don't need your permission to court.
Then we see Lucas going over the menu with Gustav, who we all love. We love
More Gustav!
Hashtag more Gustav.
Yes,
With an
please.
E on the end. He's talking about his date with Elizabeth, and he says it's very important. And Gustav is in charge of choosing a dessert. He asks him, like, can you be in charge of the dessert? So I think it's cute that Lucas is setting the menu, but then he's like, I don't know about a dessert. Can you be in charge of that? And then Gustav is like, don't worry about romance. I'm French. And then we see Rosemary altering Elizabeth's dresses, and we see her dress for her very first date with Lucas. Her official first 100% real first date with Lucas.
I love how excited she is. It's so cute.
I know.
She's not even hiding it at this point. And that dress is, I think, a little more risque than like the other ones that we've seen. And she is just in a different place. She's just ready at this point. And that's what the writers were trying to show us is,
It's been a journey for her.
That's what this episode, this entire episode, the scenes that they show us are of Elizabeth embracing a new love and her moving on and her being excited. And Jillian, what you were saying earlier, this is one of those episodes where we really see that Elizabeth again, that old time Elizabeth. And I remember after this episode aired, there were some people who were like, we want the old Elizabeth back. We didn't recognize this Elizabeth. Like, who is she? Aaron actually had to step in and be like, excuse me, I'm right here. They didn't realize that this is Elizabeth moving on. This is Elizabeth letting go and being free and like just enjoying this experience, like enjoying embracing Lucas.
Nathan comes to Elizabeth's house, which we saw a lot about in the preview, right? We were like, oh no, why is Nathan coming to Elizabeth's house being like, I got your note, what's the matter? Well, it turns out Nathan didn't show up to his parent-teacher conference. So bad. So Elizabeth wants to talk to him about Allie's school performance, right? I just, in my notes, I just have, there's literally nothing romantic discussed. There is nothing romantic about accelerated math programs.
I know that.
Just all I don't know. What do you guys think?
She's only interested in being a friend to Nathan. I mean, in being Allie's teacher, that's all she talks about while he's there is, how important Nathan is to Allie, and just reaffirms again that she's only interested in being his friend. So,
yeah, I feel like he's been friend zoned for a bit at this point. So after that, Lucas knocks on Elizabeth's door. He has both of their horses. They go for a morning ride together to the bridge.
What bridge?
He tells, I don't know, just a certain bridge.
That's familiar.
He tells Elizabeth that he won't attend the graduation ceremony out of respect for Nathan and Allie. Come on. And she's like, you're so thoughtful. And then they're looking forward to their dinner at the saloon later.
Flirty.
So
You didn't
flirty.
mention
Come on.
you didn't mention the Dorleen, dude. That was like everything.
Dude, the Dorleen. I mean, it's so Hallmark. Like the Dorleen. She's like, you're out early.
And the giggling while
It's
writing.
happy. Like she's just
Yeah.
so carefree, and she talks about it at dinner. And I just love that Lucas brings that out of her. And who's the last person that she used to ride with, that happily? Jack,
Mhm.
right? It's interesting because she rode away from someone else, all despondent and, sad and blah, blah, blah. And she's riding alongside someone else. Okay, I need to stop being so
True.
vague. We
No.
know what we're talking about.
That's a really good point.
No, but
No,
I'm being
that's
vague.
true.
But yeah, like it's
We all know what you're talking about.
so but I don't know why I'm like, beating around the bush on this one. But yeah, like she rides alongside Lucas, and it's
Yeah.
all, there's meaning behind all this stuff. It's like she rides
Yeah.
away, after the I love you, and like goes to Jack's land because that's who she's thinking about. But when she's with Lucas, it's like she's moving on. And that kind of symbolizes that now she sees him as like this partner.
Mhm.
So
Right.
Yeah, and they're so flirty in this scene. Like, first of all, they look at each other, like when they're on the bridge, they look at each other and they just like kind of gaze at each other and they giggle because they're like obviously we can't do anything more than this. And then when they ride away, they're flirty, and she is like,
she
don't
cheats,
do
man.
that stuff. Yeah, you don't do that stuff when you're not into the guy. I mean, come on, put yourself in her shoes. It's so obvious.
And at this point, Lucas isn't like wondering what's going on with Elizabeth and Nathan, right? This is before all the Fort Clay stuff kind of comes to a head. At this point, he's secure in his relationship with Elizabeth. And they show that in that horse scene when Newton and Nathan ride by. So he's not like worried, he's not jealous, he's not anything. He's like, Elizabeth, I know you care about me. I know that I have you, and that's kind of that's kind of where he's at. Yeah, and Lucas has always been that guy. Lucas has always been empathetic and always been like, okay, well, how are my actions going to affect somebody else?
Exactly.
And he's thinking about Nathan here.
I mean, he's so considerate of other people's feelings. He considers everyone before himself. And, obviously we know that he and Nathan have had their differences, but he still had the decency to make sure that Nathan was able to have his special day with Allie. And I just feel like every action or conversation that he has with her, it's more reassuring for her that she's following her heart. And he's really never given Elizabeth a reason to doubt her choice in choosing him.
Yep, exactly.
So then we see the graduation ceremony, and Elizabeth seems really happy. She's in her element. I mean, she's a teacher, first and foremost. Nathan says, thank you for everything. And Elizabeth says, thank you for understanding. I'm just like, again, this is such a pivotal, like she's already chosen, and Nathan should know it, and everybody else should know it. Like, he's like, thank you for everything. She's like, thank you for understanding.
When Mrs. Thornton smiling. That was a cute little song.
It was so cute. I didn't realize that it was like to the tune of Irish, what is it? Irish Eyes Are Smiling or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, guys, it's the same song as when like something is playing in the saloon, and everybody's like, yeah. Yep. I'm like,
hi, Jillian.
I didn't realize it was an actual song. Whoops. That's my bad. Okay, so then we have our first actual date. Elizabeth goes home and little Jack is missing her, so Lucas changes their dinner plans and moves it to her backyard instead of the saloon, and brings all the candles and the music, and they have dinner under the stars in the backyard, which isn't so bad, right?
No, But you know, some people have issues with candles. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, and picnic.
It's Lucas, and it's like a fire hazard. It's like you're gonna burn down the trees, and like
And he's buying her attention.
I know,
Don't
like
forget that.
Smokey the Bear would not approve. Like it's just like terrible. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh,
Sorry, but it's so cliche. Like it is cliche, okay? I will agree that the candles thing is cliche, but what I noticed is that like all the couples are doing, like every single couple, it's first of all, it's a Hallmark staple. Secondly,
right.
I've been doing a rewatch of the earlier seasons. There's a scene of Lee and Rosemary having one. There's one more recently where Jesse and Clara have one, where Jesse sets one up for Clara and him. There's one where Lee and Rosemary set one up for Faith and Carson when they're like in the early stages, when they're trying to like hide their relationship. So it freaking happens, people. Okay.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with candles. There's nothing wrong with candles.
No. And I'm sure Ned approves, right? Ned is like, sure, I have a shipment here. I knew you'd come back.
All the people in the town make candles, right? I mean, it's like you dip the string in wax over and over again. Everybody can do it. It's fine. It's fine.
And Gustav, our cute little matchmaker, only like sends the one dessert. He's so French. We need more of this dude next season. But
yeah,
it
more
was,
Gustav.
I love how she was like with an E. I love how like she gets all flirty and she's like, thank him for only bringing one dessert. I enjoyed sharing. Like that is Elizabeth just letting go and just embracing this new relationship. That little moment.
Mm-hmm. And when she sighs, it's like a long sigh. I mean, I feel like in season 8, the screen time is very limited. So when there's a scene where they don't worry about that, this is one of them where she just like takes her time to sigh and say, this feels like the first time in forever that I haven't had something weighing on me. Is so huge for me. Like I feel like that is so pivotal. Come on. This is the first time in forever I haven't had something weigh on me. Can't we all relate to that somehow?
Yeah.
Come on. That is so come on. It's endgame. It's endgame.
And the words weighing on me too. Did you realize those are the exact same words she says to Nathan when it's the thing that I was talking about earlier, where she's like, you know, maybe Allie has Fort Clay weighing on her, but like I said earlier, that is not about Allie. That is about her kind of hinting at wanting to talk to him about Fort Clay. So that is weighing on her when she's with Nathan, but then when she's with Lucas, completely different context, completely relaxed, completely like no stress, no like weird tension. Like she's just happy.
They're on the same page.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Gina, what do you want to say? I feel like I've said too much.
Oh yeah, no worries. Just that he's so consistent. I mean, it was like what when they were interviewing, like, you know, some of the cast members, and Johanna's like, you know, oh, if I had to choose, it would be him because of his consistency. And I mean, it's just that scene was like, it was unbelievable. It melted my heart. I mean, and usually, like when I was looking at the episode titles, usually I don't look or I don't read too much into them, but I noticed with this title, it's called What the Heart Wants. And that title itself, it answers, you know, the question of the show, when calls the heart. And then the next title is for episode 6 is No Regrets. I mean, these two titles alone answer who she's chosen. You know, she wants to be with Lucas. Her heart wants Lucas, and she doesn't regret being with him. Like she doesn't regret making that choice. How did they not see that? I don't understand. If you didn't see it in the scenes, you should have read the episode title. And I mean, once again, like, thank you, writers, because John Tinker, Derek Thompson, and Elizabeth Stewart, they just completely knocked it out of the park. I mean,
Yep.
there were things that happened in these episodes that we didn't expect, and they definitely surprised us a lot in a good way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So we're gonna end it there because we can continue on for the rest of the season about how she chose early on, but we're gonna end it there for now, and we're gonna continue on next episode. Thank you so much for listening. Okay, so if you're not already following us on all the social medias, make sure you're following us on Instagram at the Lucabeth Lounge, and on Twitter at Lucabeth Lounge, because the Lucabeth Lounge was too long. And then on TikTok too at the Lucabeth Lounge. I'm just posting all kinds of videos, and it's just fun to watch. I don't know. Just follow us on all the things. Follow us on YouTube at the Lucabeth Lounge, and like and subscribe, and make sure that you're not missing anything. And Div, what did you have to say about something?
First of all, happy 2-month kissiversary, you guys. I think you're gonna get this audio a day or two later, but so happy belated. I saw people are still like posting 2-month kissiversary stuff. I did not expect the hashtag to stick, but cool. Are we gonna get like a monthly thing? That's fine.
Let's do it.
Yeah, why not?
We're entitled to celebrate for another season, right?
Yeah, after this we'll be celebrating other kissiversaries anyway. But that is so awesome. And then okay, so for our like new interactive thing, the first day of filming is July 21st. So 2 weeks from now on Wednesday. And we really just want to show our support for the cast and the crew, and even for Brian Bird, and John Tinker. Like seriously, I don't think he's active right now, but last year what we did is we did a tweet fest the day of the first day of filming, and it was just encouraging messages, you know, like with gifts and edits, like the usual stuff, but we directed them to Aaron and Chris and the other cast members. And I just think it's just a really nice way to welcome them back. I really think Aaron and Chris could use this just because they put up with so much nonsense.
Should we use a specific hashtag, or just the hashtag?
Well, obviously the Lucabeth one.
Yeah.
Well, if we do come up with another hashtag, we'll let people know.
We'll tweet about it.
Yeah, we'll tweet about it. If people have suggestions, they can always
Definitely,
give.
I think we should definitely do obviously Hardy's, and then season 9 will be Divine, because you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works. Yeah,
I agree.
Yep. We'll tweet about it, so keep an eye out for that. And on Lucabeth Lounge at Twitter, on the Twitter. And just keep your eyes peeled, and we'll have a tweet fest all together. It'll be so fun. And,
yes, make sure you like and retweet, even if you can't like actually post your own stuff. Just make sure you get the love out.
Yeah.
Special shout out. Yeah, special shout out to this girl over here, Gina. Like I don't know how she does it. Like she just gets the tweets out. So I'm so happy. Like she was huge, and like she's like our marketing person. So it'll be fun. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you back in the lounge next time.
Thanks, guys. She chose early on. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Enjoy.
Bye.